Big breaking news from Big D to GB. The biggest news of the NFL year comes with 1 week to kick. Thursday, the Cowboys shipping star holdout Micah Parsons to the Packers in exchange for 2 first-round picks and defensive tackle Kenny Clark. The 26-year-old two-time All-Pro inking his desired extension and then some, a 4-year, $188 million deal with $136 of that coming fully guaranteed. The $47 million per makes him the highest paid non-quarterback in league history by $6 million a year. Joe Musso, pleased to be in studio alongside my guy, Emory Hunt, here to break it all down, ask all the questions. We will have answers as well. Hopefully, Jerry Jones will have some answers. He will appear at some point in this hour. We're expecting him to take to the podium in Dallas to answer all of the questions out in front of us. But Emory, to move forward, let's go back. It's sort of been slinging of mud over the last month from side to side. At what point in your eyes was trade an actual reality?
I didn't think Jerry had it in him, Joe. I just assumed that we were all being played and that this was going to drag on until 11:59, the day before Thursday night kickoff, and we were going to get this big, massive deal. Micah Parsons re-upping with the Dallas Cowboys. I found out about this trade en route to the studio, and I was like, you got to be kidding. Maybe you have some fake account that you're looking at, these fake Twitter accounts. And no, he actually traded them. So I'm shocked it happened. This is a massive loss for the Dallas Cowboys and a monumental gain for the Green Bay Packers.
That type of deal that has ripple effects felt between these two teams, but also elsewhere in the respective decisions. Again, we're going to pull out all those threads here in the coming hour. I want to pull at the compensation thread here for a moment, because when you first see Micah Parsons traded to Packers, you're expecting probably 3 first-round picks coming back in exchange. Instead, it's 2 first-round picks and a defensive tackle piece. Do you think that Jerry and Dallas extracted all of the potential value out of this deal?
I'm kind of confused about the piece they got in terms of the player, because Kenny Clark is 30 years old, 29 going into 30. You thought he would have gotten one of those younger guys like Devontae Wyatt or Carl Brooks, one of the better younger defensive tackles to help this run defense that's going to struggle. 2 first-round picks I'm not that concerned with, because if you are the Dallas Cowboys or the Green Bay Packers, hey, we'll give you this pick because we're getting a known commodity and we plan to be picking late in the draft anyway. So the first-round picks, we're expecting these to be within 28 to 32. So they don't matter. This is what the Rams used to do and give away those first-round picks for known commodities. But if you're going to do that, Green Bay feels as though, hey, we're going to be like the Rams. We're going to nail the back end of the draft and undrafted free agents to supplement the loss of a first-round pick. Now, you can't do that unless you trust your scouts. But if you're the Dallas Cowboys, yeah, you're getting 2 first-round picks, but it doesn't help you this year up front on defense, and that's where they struggle the most.
I know different position, different part of the NFL calendar, but I will point out less than San Francisco paid to move up in the draft with Miami to draft Trey Lance. I mean, it's a completely different situation,
right.
But I just thought that if Micah Parsons was going to move, we'd be looking at 3-1s. We are not. Again, Jerry Jones likely to answer that question coming up here on CBS Sports HQ. For Green Bay, you're thrilled. Fans, folks in that locker room, there's a lot of hope that comes with a player of this ilk. Championship, it's no longer that hope, it's now the expectation. What sort of weight of expectation comes with Micah Parsons?
Now you look at this defensive front seven, Joe. Carl Brooks, phenomenal defensive lineman. Devontae Wyatt, outstanding defensive lineman. And then you go out on the edge. You have Micah Parsons. You have Rashawn Gary. And on the interior of the second level with the inside linebackers, Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper. I was a big fan of him coming out of Texas A&M. So this defensive front seven is going to be a problem. And now you almost forget that they got rid of Jair Alexander, because why? Hey, we're going to focus on the front seven. The front seven is going to get to the quarterback and stop the run. You won't have time to get to the back into the secondary. So this is great for Green Bay. It helps him this year. It helps him long term because he's still an ascending player. And again, he's going to wreak havoc not only in the NFC, which the Cowboys are located in, which is why I'm shocked he traded Micah Parsons to the NFC squad, but also it helps him further along down the line because now you can count on your guy, your top-tier pass rusher, to be there week in, week out, and you know week in, week out he's going to bring the rush, and that's where offenses has to game plan for, so it helps you out defensively.
I think if you polled 31 other general managers in this league, everybody would have done 2 firsts and a defensive tackle for Micah Parsons. Not everybody capable to do what they did in terms of compensation for Micah. Again, 180 plus, nearly 140 guaranteed. It puts him in an unreal echelon in terms of his compensation. It also puts him next to a quarterback who's got some big money due as well. $102 million per year committed to Micah Parsons and Jordan Love over the next 4 seasons. That's on an annual basis. So I know it's a great piece here, but you got to get the quarterback to take that step forward as well. And the pressure is going to be felt in Green Bay for it to come right now for that quarterback, for that head coach, and now a bolstered up defense that can do some things that they could not some 24 hours ago. I know many of us enjoyed that Dallas Cowboys Jerry Jones documentary. It was good stuff. Maybe he was reading his own press clippings. This has air of Herschel Walker, Emmitt Smith type moments. Jerry's known to do things like this before, but it's a different day and age in the NFL. What does a move like this say to a locker room? And bigger than that, what does it say to Cowboys Nation when you trade a player like this?
Let's start with the locker room first. It says stay in line, because if you are not lockstep with what the mission is here with the Dallas Cowboys, we're going to get rid of you too. And so if you trade your best player, I remember this happened with the Herschel Walker trade, and Herschel Walker at that time, Joe, was the dude. He was legitimately the star in the NFL. You got rid of him. And so everybody's like, whoa, if they can get rid of Herschel Walker, I'm next. Now, it kind of can get everybody to get back in line and get everybody refocused. But on the back end of that Herschel Walker trade, you have to nail the draft. So Dallas has to have a plan in place that, okay, we lose Micah Parsons. We want everybody else to stay in line. Otherwise, they can get shipped off too. But we have to make sure we nail the draft, because otherwise we are going to look like fools. Now, we can't fire ourselves because I own the team, but at the end of the day, it's going to be a bad situation, because now no one will want to come to Dallas, because no one will want to deal with Jerry Jones. And we're talking about an agent that has a lot of outstanding clients. And so any client he gets, he's going to advise them not to go to Dallas and going to try to make it happen to where they don't go to Dallas. And for the fan base, it's like they're upset now, but once the games kick off, they'll be back Cowboy fans once again.
Yeah, picks are great until they're players, and then you find out if they're really great. But what did you say? You can't fire yourself?
Can't fire yourself.
I thought you were onto an idea there. We got plenty more coming here on the Micah Hour. Emory Hunt giving us our early thoughts here, and reaction is rolling in from all over the place, and I mean all over the place. A former teammate in CeeDee Lamb who got broken off a couple years ago. Never fails, dog. Just pay the man what you owe him. No need for the extracurricular. And on the defensive side of the ball, you're going to have to cover a little longer. Trey Diggs, a broken heart emoji. Green Bay has got a new piece. Dallas has heartbreak. We are back in the mix with Emory Hunt, CBS NFL analyst. Emory, $47 million per year here for a star edge rusher. I know the market says what you're worth, and you are worth what the market says. How did we land on 47? It makes him the highest paid non-quarterback in league history by some $6 million. It makes him the 12th highest paid player in this league overall. What about 42, 43? How do we get to 47?
Right. I guess they wanted to put it so far out in front to where the next guy is going to have to do Micah Parsons type work to get to that number at least, or at least slightly over that number. But I like the fact that Micah Parsons is an ascending player. You look at that list. TJ Watt, we know about his age. You talk about Danielle Hunter, you talk about Max Crosby. But when you're thinking about a young ascending player that's a star in the NFL, this justifies that. It's really paying you what you are worth. We talked about that earlier. But when you look at Micah Parsons and you look at what he brings to the table, Green Bay wanted a closer. They wanted someone in the later part of the season, the colder months, get out there and close out ball games when you need to. You look around the NFL, TJ Watt, Pittsburgh has one. Myles Garrett in Cleveland, they have one. We hope Baltimore has one now, and what they were able to draft in Mike Green and whatnot. But you know what you're going to get in Micah Parsons. If you're Green Bay, this is worth the tax that you paid on top of it.
Leave no doubt. I am taken back to 2018 when the Chicago Bears acquired Khalil Mack from the Raiders at the time. $27.5 million per, I think, made him the highest paid non-quarterback in league history at that point. In 7 years' time, the numbers have ballooned to where we find Micah Parsons at $47 million per year. Let's go on the Bears here because, again, ripple effects off this sort of deal. And let's talk about the NFC North because it's a black and blue division and some more black and blue physicality in the form of Parsons. Starting in Chicago, the left tackle position is one that maybe was one up for grabs during camp. Is this the type of move that can spur other moves across the league?
It can, and you'll see teams try to beef up on their run game. And that's not necessarily saying, hey, we got to get a left tackle to run the football. Hey, maybe we're gonna turn Micah Parsons into a run defender. We're gonna see how much he wants to stop the run. And when you look at this division, Detroit can do that, Chicago can do that, Green Bay, can do that. But now they got Parsons. Now you have to worry about Minnesota being able to do that, and they will as well. So I think for everyone in this division, they're saying, hey, we're already built to kind of take away Micah Parsons and make him one-dimensional. And that's the other part of his game that we're going to have to see Micah Parsons elevate. He used to get gassed a little bit in the middle parts of the ball games, and he has to maintain that level of enthusiasm that we see in the first quarter throughout the course of the game, because all these teams in the North are going to do is try to wear him down with their running game. They're going to get the extra tight end in there. They're going to move him around. They're going to wham him. They're going to trap him. They're going to do everything they can to wear him down physically to where his pass rush is null and void in the fourth quarter.
I'm taking to Detroit because Grit does not block star edge rushers. Some questions there on the offensive line, a lot of new scheme there as well, and that is their current game plan, that week one matchup on CBS, Green Bay and Detroit in Green Bay. The Bears, they have their left tackle questions as they try and find their way, and Minnesota with a pseudo rookie at quarterback, the learning curve may be sped up here by Parsons in division as well. You know, we always want to stamp winners and losers coming out of a deal. I think it's pretty obvious who walks away feeling the winner in this one, but how do you frame that question? Who is the biggest winner in this situation, and who finds themselves feeling like a loser?
Micah Parsons would be the biggest winner.
That's a fair answer,
that's
and the right one.
Exactly. He's the biggest winner. Second, I would say Green Bay, because you get someone that can help you win football games this year. You don't have the mystery box of the draft picks next year like the Dallas Cowboys have. And you also enhance your locker room because now the guys on the team and the fan base are excited. Hey, we got Micah Parsons. Juxtaposed to what you're seeing right now and what's going on down there in Dallas, they're like, man, what are we doing? You saw the players' tweets about Micah Parsons leaving, and now you know the fan base is gonna go crazy on social media. So Green Bay is the winner, the second biggest winner. Micah Parsons is the first winner, and the Dallas Cowboys are the losers. And it's unfortunate because this was a Cowboys football team that I had pegged going to the postseason. But now you bring last year's issues into a new season. Defensively, you have to worry about them not only stopping the run, but now being able to get after the quarterback. I know they brought in Donovan Ezeraku, the young edge rusher from Boston College. I know they have Marshawn Nealon. I know they have Odile Odigizua on the inside, but they still struggle to stop the run. That's going to be an issue because we don't have to see the offense for the Dallas Cowboys if they can't get off the field defensively, and that's the problem.
Feels like we are closer to a full-on reset in Dallas. We'll see they commit to it, but we were gaining closer to playoff football. Last time we saw playoff football for Dallas, it was against the very team that they just traded their star to in the Green Bay Packers. That heartbreaking loss in blowout fashion. The last time we took them seriously. Might be some times till seriousness comes back to Dallas once again. Emory Hunt, appreciate your insight as always. Coming up here on CBS Sports HQ as we take a look at some numbers and some rarefied air. I mean, give me the Reggie. Give me the Reggie in the Green Bay, right?
Right.
I mean, there's your 1-to-1 for most sacks in the first 4 seasons. There's another star edge rusher coming to town for the Green Bay Packers. Coming up here on CBS Sports HQ, we'll hear from Jerry Jones when he takes to the podium, plus Ran Carthon joining us with the GM's point of view on how a deal like this gets done. For more, we say hello to CBS Sports NFL analyst and former Titans GM Ran Carthon to give us a holistic approach on something like this and how it gets done. Ran, when this news comes down, we're all kind of shocked by it in the moment. What's the first item you're looking for? Is it years? Is it compensation? Is it average annual value? What caught your eye off the top?
The first thing I heard when I saw the deal, you know, you go right to the computer, not the computer, but the calculator on your phone to do the quick math, right, to find out what the AAV is. But for me, generally, the next thing I'm looking at is what's the compensation. And we talked about it a little bit on air. You initially thought it would at least take 3 ones because of the magnitude of a player like Micah Parsons. But like we also talked about off air, to get a player back in this deal like Kenny Clark, you get a player who is a position of need, but he's also a leader of the locker room. And he's a leader. He's going to be the leader in that defensive line room, which you so desperately need right now with Micah Parsons. And as this graphic is showing, you know, he's the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the game and the highest paid defensive player in the history of the game by a wide margin, which, you know, for Micah Parsons, a 4-year deal gives him security. And not necessarily looking for the 3-year extension that some of these young guys are now getting on their second deals, which allows them to hit it again quicker because Micah Parsons is still 25 years old. So think about that for a second. So even after 4 years of this, he'll still be 29, still kind of in his prime if healthy. So this was a great pickup, you know, for the Green Bay Packers. And like I've talked about on HQ, this guy gives them their superhero Sam linebacker in this defense of Jeff Hafley's that you covet. a guy that can do it all, a guy that can cover, a guy that can set the edge, a guy that can rush. And so he's going to give them a nice little package here, because now you can have him on the field with Rashawn Gary and Lucas Van Ness, and you can move some of the guys on the interior around and give Jeff Hafley that daunted pass rush that you're going to need in the NFC North right now. So the NFC North, hey, buckle up. And this is going to be a fun year to watch. I know you probably don't want to hear that as a Bears fan, Musto, but this is going to be a fun year up in the NFC North.
We can examine some of that, but I do want to lean into your expertise here. I know a lot of general managers would have signed up for 2 firsts and a defensive tackle, respect to Kenny Clark and what he meant to that team and what he will mean to his future one. I don't know how many teams could draw up this contract. What are the conversations being had right now by other GMs across the league, maybe in the North and elsewhere, when they see this type of deal?
Well, I'll start with the AFC GMs, because they're going to, some of those guys who have the space to do it are saying, well, why didn't they call us? You know, if this was what it was going to take, we could have easily got the deal done, because typically you don't see these deals done within the division, or let alone in the conference, because as we've talked about on this platform, week 4, the Dallas Cowboys have to see the Green Bay Packers. And so that will be the most televised and highly watched game of the year, probably. But you know, one thing you're talking about from the front office aspect, and we'll see here in the coming days, is how the deal is structured, right? And how much of the money is fully guaranteed, which is of skill, injury, and cap, and not just injury only. So I'm interested to see those numbers. And having done deals with athletes first, particularly David Mulugeta and Andre Odom, who got this deal done, they typically like to have a lot of the real money spread out over the first 2 years. And I get the feeling from a structure standpoint, that may have been the sticking point with Dallas, because Jerry Jones came out and said, hey, I've offered him a deal that will make him the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the game. However, he never went into detail on what that structure looked like, which led me to believe that the deal was backloaded, which then pushed the AAV up higher than what the numbers really are.
And we're looking at a massive guarantee here. Ran, you invoked the name, so I want to go there a little bit further here, because Jerry Jones is at the center of this saga, or was for the last month plus, as these two sides tried to come together. We know how highly regarded Jerry Jones, the owner, is amongst the other owners, but he's the judge, jury, and executioner. As a player personnel individual, how do other GMs receive Jerry?
I mean, regardless, he's still the owner, right? So whatever title he holds after owner is really insignificant, because they're all lower than owner. So all the other personnel folks, you see Jerry as the owner. Now, what I will say is, within that organization, the guy for us GMs who you respect and who will typically be my first call in the situation would be Will McClay. And I don't think he gets talked about enough as is. And we could talk about, and we're going to be talking about it for months to come, particularly when the draft rolls around, as to what they're going to do with these 2 first-round picks that the Cowboys now have. But there's nobody in the league that I would trust more than be able to pick and find good players with both of those picks than Will McClay, because he's shown it, you know, leading the personnel department for the Dallas Cowboys the last 15 plus years.
All right, we don't want to rain on any parades here. They're popping champagne, the ticker tape, they're planning it right now in Green Bay, but you also have to look at the financials on that side. We're now committing 9 figures average annual value to the quarterback and the defensive end over the next 4 years. You make the money make sense. That I understand, but the pressure to produce is there now. Is there any cap concern when a deal like this comes together? I know they're looking at 26, 27, 28. It's the youngest team in the NFL right now, some of those expiring contracts. How big of a math problem is this when you're talking about a player in this type of salary?
Well, it wouldn't have been as big of a math problem for the Dallas Cowboys if they got this done, because you're already committed to paying money to Dak and then CD and what would have been Micah. So that they would have had a bigger math problem than, say, the Green Bay Packers, because outside of Jordan Love, who is Green Bay paying at this point? And so there's still room to get other deals done. You're going to have to be creative in terms of the structure and how you're going to spread these deals out to get them done. But Dallas definitely would have had a big math problem, because, like you said, it limits you in the ability to get other young guys done, get extensions done, and then it puts even more pressure on you to have to draft well so you can get as many of these high-valued players on cheaper contracts done. So right now, this does not hurt the Green Bay Packers, and as we've seen every year, the cap continues to go up. So I don't necessarily look at it in terms of the number when it comes to the money that's spent, but more so the percentage of the cap that's being spent at these positions.
Again, 100 plus to those two. 279 this year and counting. Ran Carthon, we appreciate your insight as always here on CBS Sports HQ. Winning cures everything. One team got closer to it on this day. Another got a little bit further from it, or so it seems. The games start in a week, but man, we had some cinema here on Thursday. Joe Musso back in studio alongside Emory Hunt as we await the arrival of Jerry Jones, who's set to speak here on HQ in just a few moments. Going to have a press conference because that's super normal. You trade away your star and then you take to the podium. It's Jerry's world. He makes the rules, Emory Hunt. I got questions about all that's going to happen in Jerry's world in the wake, this sort of power vacuum that is left by Micah Parsons off the edge, but also for a rookie first-time head coach and Brian Schottenheimer. What sort of hurdle is this to climb for him and his team?
It's a new burner that's now hot on the stove because you were brought in to get the offense ready to go and make the offense look like it looked years previous in Dallas. Now you have to worry about a defense, and when you lose your best player on defense, your top pass rusher, puts a lot of pressure on the rookie Donovan Ezaraku out of Boston College. Marshawn Nealon, who's a solid player but was dealing with injury last year. Sam Williams is a very good player, but he's also dealt with some injuries. You still can't stop the run. You hope Kenny Clark can help that area, and Mozzie Smith steps up to the table, and Jay Toye, who I like a lot, the rookie out of UCLA, steps up and helps you stop the run. But that's the biggest issue now. How can they stop all of the pressure that's coming from the outside? You talk about their offense. Now their defense has issues. Now anytime you lose a game or can't get a sack on the quarterback, everyone's going to say, well, you lost Micah Parsons. So I think for him, it's like, okay, what can I do best? Offense. Maybe if I have a top 10 offense, top 5 offense, our defense can be middle of the pack and people won't notice it as much until we get to the postseason. But that offense really has to hit the ground running. So it puts all the pressure on him to have his good thing be great, and therefore the defense can come along slowly as the year goes on.
Remember, Micah was sitting out with a apparent back injury. We'll see how quickly that clears up. He gets ready for week 1. Again, Green Bay and Detroit in Green Bay on CBS. Our game of the week, Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson going to be on the call. What a story we have in front of us with Micah Parsons, now a Green Bay Packer. The division on the other side of this trade also going to feel the effects, maybe positive effects. You have the Super Bowl champions and what I measure as the toughest test in the NFL right now in the Eagles. You have a Washington team that is, yes, aging, but has a quarterback piece there and looking to take another step forward beyond just Championship Sunday. What does this do to the NFC East? Everybody must have smiles ear to ear to have that guy out of the division now.
If you're the Giants and you're looking at your defensive front seven, you have to like your defensive front seven more so than the Dallas Cowboys. You have Abdul Carter, you have Kayvon Thibodeau, you have Brian Burns, and you have Dexter Lawrence on the interior. There's no issue with you guys stopping the run. So now if you're the Giants, like, hey, Dallas got weaker. We have a chance to usurp them and maybe get in that conversation of vying for that 7th seed in the postseason because our offense should be solid and stable. Defensively, we like our chances with our front seven. Dallas can't stop the run. Now we can run the football. If you're the Giants, you're like, okay, now we have a shot. I think that opens the door for the 7th seed because you're right. Washington and Philly are still light years above the Giants and Cowboys right now. I thought the Cowboys was definitely closing that door because I'm a big Dak Prescott fan. I like their offense. I thought Micah Parsons was going to be, Micah Parsons-like. And I thought with some of the pieces that they were going to add defensively, it was going to help supplement that. But now when you lose your best player, it changes things. Look at how the Raiders looked without Khalil Mack. That's exactly what's going to happen for the Dallas Cowboys on defense. Now, granted, they have a much better offense than the Raiders had at the time.
So they're moving to Vegas? No.
Hey, you know what? Maybe Albuquerque, right? So in between. So I just like the fact that they do have offense that gives them a puncher's chance. But, man, when you talk about the East and can you stop anybody, it's going to be tough.
It's going to be a tougher task. A lot of firepower, a lot of brawn in that division as well. Was fortunate enough to be at Eagles camp. Impressive group in every single position room. It's not a division that you want to get smaller in, and it does feel, despite the addition of Kenny Clark, it does feel like this defense in totality got a little bit smaller. You mentioned the offense, Dak Prescott. He's sort of been I won't say the picture of consistency because in and out of the lineup with injury, but a lot happening in the world of Dak Prescott. A lot of negotiations between Jerry and he, between Jerry and CeeDee, between Jerry and Micah. Are we closer to the end or the beginning for Dak Prescott in Dallas? Like, could you see a major reset beyond this deal? Potential out in 2028 for Prescott, but with 2 first-round picks, do you start to wander an eye towards the future if you're Jerry?
Man, that's a great setup, Joe, because I'm already and they can move to Reno. I'm already I'm already working the brain in terms of
the Dallas fans are down right now.
If you think about this, Joe, like, follow me on this conspiracy theory.
Okay.
Right? So you got rid of this guy, right? You're freeing up some space.
Can I wait before you go? Are you about to
you know where I'm going.
3 degrees to Arch?
Exactly. That's exactly where I'm going to go, right? Because why not? Because if you're Dak Prescott, firstly, they're going to look at you and say, hey, okay, Dak, you're the leader. We're paying you to be the leader. Now let's go and lead this football team, galvanize the guys, and get them to go out there and play good football. But if you're Jerry Jones and you just got rid of your best player, and we are hearkening back in history when they got rid of Herschel Walker, what that was able to yield for them and Jimmy Johnson. But is Coach Schottenheimer Jimmy Johnson in the scenario? Does he have that much cachet to really go out and pick the right guys? And I love how Rand brought up the assistant GM to the Cowboys. I don't want to mispronounce his name, but who's done a great job in drafting. That's one thing I will say about the Cowboys. They do a great job in acquiring talent. But now if you're trying to really blow this whole thing up, Dak becomes attractive for the right price. But, man, he means so much to the football team, not only on the field but off the field. But if you're Jerry and you're just saying, hey, I just want to reset this thing for the next guy coming in, his brother Stephen Jones, then Dak does become available for the right price. I'm not saying it will happen. I'm not saying that that's what they'll do. But it does make a little bit of sense that, hey, if we're looking down the line, maybe we could set ourselves up to be in position to make this grand move to restart the whole new set of Cowboys.
We've entertained the timeline there in Dallas. Let's entertain the timeline and how it's sped up now with Green Bay. This is a team that has been in vogue for the last few years to represent the NFC, to win the NFC North. They have, in time, watched the Detroit Lions stamp their name over the last 2 years on that division. You have a great piece on the defensive side of the ball. You have a quarterback that I think popular belief is that you have the right guy there that you can move forward with. They at least gave him that sort of nod in compensation moving forward. The head coach, how much does this speed things up for Matt LaFleur? Let's say we do have a 3rd consecutive year where the Lions win the division. You have a wild card team in Green Bay. What does that seat start feeling like for Matt LaFleur? Is it win now time in Green Bay with this move?
I wouldn't say win now time. I will say it does put a lot of the onus on everyone else on the roster to raise the level of play. I think the biggest issue we've seen with Green Bay in recent memory is the injury. Can guys on offense, i.e. the receiving core, plural, stay healthy? And if that's the case, we know they can run the football. That's where, he laid his hat in terms of how he got the job in Green Bay coming from Tennessee. They were running the heck out of the football. He's able to do that in Green Bay. Defensively, yes, they've been going through some changes in the secondary, but, man, he has put together a really good front seven, so they should be able to stop the run and run the football. That's going to get you to the postseason. What's going to get you through the postseason, and we almost saw them do that a couple of years ago when they fell short in San Francisco, is this team, can they stay healthy at wide receiver? Can Jordan Love stay healthy? And can this football team get off to a great start in division? Because everyone around them got better. Chicago got significantly better. The Vikings got better in terms of the defense and what they do on offense. And, hey, Detroit is still Detroit. They still can run the football, and we'll see what the defense looks like if they're healthy as well. So you have to make sure you do your thing, and otherwise the seat will get hot. 1
win in division a year ago for the Green Bay Packers. It came on a illegal leveraging of a snapper against Chicago, a blocked kick. Who remembers that,